coming to you from Galactic Womb Studios inside Casa GTO.
You are now tuned in to the podcast by creatives, for creatives, music nerds, weirdos, outcasts, misfits, and high-frequency humans.
If you are out of place in outer space, you've landed, baby. Welcome to
the Trigger Words Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Trigger Words Podcast. My name is Arthur Barsworth, MC.
I am Dr. Philip Smartman, PhD.
Doctor.
Yeah,
Ep.2, y'all came back. That's what's up.
Glad to see you guys came back.
We got a whole 3 listeners. How about it?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, man. It's better than 2.
Me, you, and Sarah. How about that?
I'm loving it.
Yes, so thank you for coming back. Episode 1 was a lot of fun. It was also very frustrating. It was a lot of stuff to deal with. But it was a great learning experience. So we're glad that you're back with us for episode 2. The instrumental you just heard on the intro was by Silencio, and that's our homie Luis Gonzalez. He will be joining us very soon on the podcast, but he still helps us edit and mix and all that good stuff. So how was your week, man?
It's been a good week.
Yeah?
Busy, usually.
Busy work?
Busy as always, but...
Word.
Glad to have gotten through it.
Yeah, here we are. It is Saturday. Today's Luis's birthday. Happy birthday, Luis!
Happy birthday, Luis.
And we got some special stuff coming up on that. This week, I actually went out to the Dakota Eastside Ice House.
Yeah?
I went out there with my buddy Arnold, a.k.a. Goonie El Tejano from Bear Talk Podcast. I sat down with him, chatted it up. We talked podcast stuff, music stuff, Sananto stuff. That dude is just great, and we had a really good conversation. Had some great food. Actually, I went down there. I ordered tacos, right? And you know, at the Dakota they have several different kinds. They got the brisket, they got the shrimp, and then they got the Asian taco. And I went up and I was talking to Keith, and I was like, yo, Keith, man, you got tacos today? He said yes, and he told me what he had, and I was like, man, I can't decide. I was like, can I get one of each? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Damn, one of each? They got those stacked tacos, too.
They're stacked. Well, they're like nice artisanal tacos. They're like really, really good. But I asked him for one of each, and he actually came back with an order of each.
Oh,
which
really?
Comes with 2 each.
Oh.
So I ate 6 tacos.
Oh, man, those are good.
And we had like 2 little cubetitas with modelitos. It was nice, man. It was cool. So it was nice. I was talking to him. He checked out the podcast. He thought it was cool. Shout out to Amanda, who was giving us some love online. To Jacob from Young Costello, who was also showing love. Joaquin said that he loved it. He said that we were doing great. So I guess we're gonna try to keep it up and keep it going, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm loving all the feedback. Thanks so much for hitting us up and letting us know what you think. If y'all have anything else y'all want to add, feel free to hit us up. Hit up the DMs. I actually created an email.
Oh.
If you want to send any questions, comments, rude remarks, whatever you got. It's triggerwordsmail, as in MAIL, at gmail.com. Triggerwordsmail at gmail.com. Hit us up.
Send us your questions, comments, concerns, rudeness, whatever. We welcome it all, as long as we continue having the conversation. That's why it's called Trigger Words. Let's share some words. Let's share some thoughts. Let's share some ideas. I gotta say, man, episode 2, I think I'm hoping is gonna go a lot smoother than 1. 1 was definitely very interesting. It actually took us 3 times to get the right one that we actually wanted to use. The first one was like a little recording that you and I just did in the kitchen, just kind of riffing.
Yeah, we were using the phone. Talking back and forth, sharing ideas. You know how it goes when you start something new. You throw the ideas around.
Yeah. It was like the sketch pad, right? And then we decided to like do it for real, and we were just like, all right, we're gonna go in, we're gonna get it done, it's gonna be great. And we went in there, and I didn't think we went in there with not the right intentions. I don't think we were in the right mindset, and I say that because before we do anything, we're musicians. We're like, all right, well, let's go get a drink. Let's go take a little puff or something, you know?
Yeah.
And
get your mind right.
Pro tip: don't smoke before a podcast. Don't drink before a podcast, because it's not gonna probably go as smooth. Like, I think that's good for music. But for podcasting, it's a little differently. You don't want to hear somebody slurring their words or just being like, And I feel like there was a little too much of that, even though it did have its golden moments. I think from here on out, excluded for certain people, we will get nice and smashed. For the podcast, we'll treat it like Drink Champ style, and we'll have a nice little party and we'll have a nice drink. But I think for you and I, we'll just stick with a little bit of coffee and some high quality H2O.
Yeah, I was trying to stay sharp for you guys so you can understand what we're saying, and we're not slurring and shit. You know what I mean? Want you to understand.
Hey, dude, wait till the freaking weekend, dude. You know what I mean?
It's the freaking weekend.
Freaking weekend. Yo, man, do you remember when we were... This was, I guess, late January, early Feb, something like that. And our jobs, we work, as we had mentioned before, we work for the same entity, just not in the same locations. So a lot of the way that his schedule was going was the same thing was mine. So we were syncing up with that way. And around that time, which is also around the time we started Trigger Words and we started jamming with Sarah, and we were just cooped up in the house, just staying creative and not, staying stagnant and just trying to build and create. We were going to work one day a week. We talked about it at the last episode of the podcast. We were going to work on just Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, it was super funny because me and Felipe would kind of like meet up in the kitchen before we go to work, and he'd say, man, Monday morning, even though it was Wednesday, he'd be like, man, Monday morning, time to go get it. And then we would get off of work, and then he'd come home, and he'd be like, man, it's the freaking weekend, can you believe it? And that was like an awesome time. It didn't last long, but it was very, very nice. And it was just the time where we were just drinking and we were partying and we were staying up late. It was like we were kids during summer break, back in school.
Yeah, it was nice for us to have that time. Like I mentioned before, it was a blessing in disguise to have the time that we had to come up with ideas. That's whenever we started talking about doing this podcast and throwing ideas around, and it's been a lot of interesting stepping stones for us.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. But we only hope to get better, and provide information that's worthy of being shared. So on this episode, we do have some special treats for you guys. We do have Sarah Rocha in the house because she's our roommate. And she's already here, so it's great. And we're going to have a great conversation with her. Sarah is a musician here from San Antonio. She's been playing with a bunch of different people, too many to name, but some that we can mention is like Los Nahuatlatos, Radio Tierra. She's played with Graham Reynolds, and she'll give us a bunch of her background and let us know what she's got going on as far as her projects, her personal life, her professional life. She'll share some of that with us, hopefully. And she's also going to talk to us about a nonprofit that is in the works called MASA, and that is the Musicians Alliance of San Antonio. We're going to go ahead and discuss that and the services that are going to be provided through that organization, as well as we're going to talk about this next song that you guys are going to hear, which is the song of the episode. What's this song called?
The Freaking Weekend.
Freaking Weekend, dude. And this is like, I love, it's just like Burn, which was the song that we played on the first episode. It was so organic. Mm-hmm. It just like, again, you just came in with the riff and, it just went from there. And Sarah threw some vocals on it. So did you. So did I. Did my best on drums like always. So let's go ahead and we're going to check out the track Freaking Weekend by Trigger Words, the band. And we're going to be right back with Sarah Rocha. And we're going to have a nice little discussion. Stick around. This is Freaking Weekend by Trigger Words.
get it.
Yippee-ki-yay with the IPAs. If they ain't cold, then it's not okay. I'ma need some thirsty ghosts for some thirsty ghosts. Crashing the waves, rocking the boats. Party time, that's the remedy. La Mari, La Huera with a melody. Mind-blowing melody, popping like a Kennedy. It's been a rough week, can you believe it's the freaking weekend? Whoa, it's the freaking weekend again. Believe it. It's a freaking weekend.
Let's get it.
It's the freaking weekend.
Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? And also, Sarah Rocha is here with us in the studio.
In the
Can
house.
you believe it?
In the house.
Hello, I live here.
Sarah, welcome to the set of the Trigger Words podcast. You've seen it before because you set it up.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for having me, Dennis.
Yeah,
No,
and
thank you.
thank you for all that you do, all the work that you do for the Trigger Words podcast. When it comes to audio, editing, video, the lighting, and of course breakfast. We can't forget the essential meals that you provide. So we're excited to have you here. We just heard the second song of the second episode of the podcast, Freaking Weekend, and you play bass on that. You do some vocals on that. You want to tell us a little bit about your process with the song and how it makes you feel, and what your general thoughts are, and then we'll kind of pass it around.
Did we write that outside after a barbecue? Was that
We
the
definitely
story?
played it. We played it outside at the barbecue. I remember we were working on it. Yeah, in the
I
backyard.
think we had some congas. It was one of those like late evenings.
Man, I don't even remember that.
No?
I don't even remember that.
I remember playing the songs, working on them,
You
finishing
guys-
them up.
Yeah, you guys may have come up with it
Acoustic
maybe before
style.
I got home from work. And then we finally all played it together. Was it something like that?
You know, my memory of most of those songs that we did that are going to be featured on this podcast, obviously we have all the stuff set up in the galactic womb over here, which is the room that you saw in episode 1 if you saw the YouTube video. We have all the drums and everything set up there, and I want to say that I remember Felipe just playing the riff, and then all of us kind of going off of that. And the usual setup is like, I'll go to the drums, you'll go to the guitar, and Sarah will be on bass, and we always have mics. And as far as from what I remember, like, man, it's been quite some time since we put that song out. It was like, I don't know, February-ish.
It was quite a spring.
Yeah.
We had quite the spring.
Yeah.
Right.
We sprung into action.
We forgot a lot.
There's a lot of time to forget things.
So as I mentioned earlier, as far as the lyrics are concerned, just like on Burn, you inspired the main lyric and also the title of the song, Burn It, which it's not called Burn, but you just blurted out, burn it to the fucking ground. And we were talking about how Felipe would come home and he'd have this hilarious anecdote for us, or he'd be like, after work, man, it's the freaking weekend. Can you believe it?
The
And
short
then-
work weeks at that time.
After going to work for one day out of
Yeah.
the week.
And
whole
you know
work
what? Now
week.
that I think about it too, like I want to say we were riffing and we were like he was like playing that riff, and then I want to say one of you or maybe Felipe was like, "It's the freaking weekend," and then that's when it just like the melody just popped into my head, and I was like, "It's the freaking weekend." Whoa, can you believe it? Believe it. It's the freaking weekend. Weekend. Freaking weekend. Wait, no, we already fucked that
You
up.
already know. Yeah.
You just heard it.
We forgot.
Okay?
Just press rewind and listen to it again.
Press rewind. And we need to start like releasing these on Spotify too, right? Like we should like release the songs like as a separate entity,
Yeah.
maybe, so that they can enjoy them on online through different platforms.
Or rather, they
Yeah.
have to go through the podcast to hear it.
Ooh,
It's the
Just
underground.
The wormhole of trigger wording.
yeah. I really just listen to the Trigger Words podcast for the music, and that's it. Is what some people are saying, I'm sure.
No, but that song is definitely one of my favorites. It's fun. It reminds me of what I want to be doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like catchy, man.
It's very catchy.
I'll just be like at work and I start singing it and I'm like, what song is? Oh, we wrote that.
Yeah. What do you guys remember about the recording process? Because for me, it was I don't know. Maybe I don't have as much patience as you guys with that sort of stuff. I'm just the flea, just jumping around and just kind of like providing energy where it needs. But what do you guys remember about the recording process for that song?
It was funny for me. Actually, I just had these guitar strings that I got, and they were free, so I was stoked. I was like, hell yeah, I need some new guitar strings, but they were really, really heavy strings. Where my guitar player is at, what's up. They were like super stiff, and it was really painful recording that, and I wish I waited till I put some new strings on that were way softer. But it still sounds pretty good.
You still get calluses?
I got blisters on my
You
fingers.
still get blisters? I don't think I've gotten a blister since
Blisters on me,
2006.
Oh man, you got the callus.
Playing that big thing over there, and that's a 3/4 size. But I'm pointing to a bass guitar, an upright bass guitar. But playing that in college, man, like we had the oldest bass. It was like the school's bass, and the strings must have been like 15 years old, and the action was super high, which I found out later you could lower. But the damage had been done. I wanted to be
Yeah.
a surgeon. When I went to school, and I ended up becoming a musician, and I have zero feeling in my fingertips now, which makes it the really good hands for tortilla flipping.
So I don't feel it.
Yeah.
We don't use comales. We go right over the flame. So the big action BS. Do you have a name for your bass? Is it like Big Bertha, or like is it just like a really soft name, just like a Amy, or like a?
I feel like I've always named my cars and my basses the exact same name, and it's Frank. Which is weird because I have an Uncle Frank.
Is that thing
And-
dangling on the
and
bottom of it?
That's a stand.
Oh, okay. Word.
But yeah, I don't know. I always called him Frank. All of them. Because it makes it really hard to distinguish one from the other, but they're all Frank. Yeah, it has nothing to do with my Uncle
Is
Frank.
they like Frank
Shout
Jr.,
out to
Frank the
Uncle
Third, Frank the Second?
Nope, just Frank.
So
Frankie
whenever
Franks.
you just call out, hey Frank, you got the bass in the car knocking at your door.
Yeah, you just
Everything,
hear a bunch
so-
of beep beep. Hey yo, hey, who called me? Hey yo.
Hey, you said Frank.
Hey, you said Frank. Yeah, but she meant me obviously. I'm the Frank.
Not really big on material things, but I really like my cars and my basses. So,
Those are very important
They're worth naming.
things.
but only one name. Sorry.
All right, well
That's it.
that'll work.
No backstory. Frank is just easy to remember. If I'm being perfectly frank.
It's just that simple.
Yeah. So do you guys have any other tidbits that you guys want to share about the recording process or about freaking weekend before we move on?
How was it for you guys? I mean, what was the creative process for y'all? I mean, I had that riff. What was it like when I played the riff, and did y'all build on it somehow?
Dude, you're fire, man. You're always like you're
I thought he said you're fired.
You're
He said
fired.
you're
No,
fired.
you're
Not again.
You're
No.
fired. You have such great. I've always complimented you on your ability to come up with these great melodies. You know what I mean? And then like we develop chord progressions and stuff together. So that's really fun. But all your stuff sounds like all the influences that you have musically, which is like every genre of music on the planet, from like punk rock to the Beatles to, I mean, all this underground stuff that I don't even know. And
Sarah
you're always
McLachlan.
this big Sarah McLaughlin. Lachlan?
McLach.
McCulloch. Or McCullough. What is it?
McLaughlin.
It's Mikola.
Nicolas.
I remember one of the things that really stuck out to me that we learned, especially during the recording process, was two things. One is we learned how to go direct, because we had recorded Felipe's guitar out of the amp into a microphone. Like, we recorded it into a microphone, and we were like, yeah, that'll totally work, and we can add like distortion to it, and we can use some pedals, and you know, that was a whole nother learning curve unto itself. And then we learned that we can go direct into the audio box. So we did that, like, I think like on the third time that we tried to record it. And then once again, once again we had to like get a rig or like do something like really strange for the drums, because like, man, we're still learning. And that's what I love about this podcast. It's a learning curve for us, and our audience gets to learn with us on how we do everything. And the drums, like, I'm sure people are gonna be like, what in the fuck is going on with the drums? And like, I'll be straight up, we mic the bass drum with like a SM58 and then we put an overhead mic to like, and this with the same kind of mic for the rest of the drum set. So there was no like cymbal mic, there was no snare mic, there was no tom mics. It was just one SM58 for the overhead, and then one for the bass drum. We're learning, we're getting there. We also need to like raise some funds so we can be properly equipped, but we are getting there.
It came out very raw and lo-fi, just using two mics on the whole drum set, and you know, very raw sound, and I think it came out okay for being a lo-fi sound.
But would you guys agree that it's a lot of fun the way that it is? It's like one of those like really rare Sublime cuts, right? It's like, oh my god, it's like, you know, I loved it. I enjoy it the way that it is. I do wanna get better and use better equipment and all that stuff, but right now I think we're all just having a blast, right?
Blast in a glass.
Yeah.
So we're a bunch of music nerds. I want to ask you a question, Sarah. One I'd like to ask all my musician friends.
Shoot.
What's the first concert you went to? Arturo actually asked me that last one, and I thought it was fitting to ask you the same thing.
And we're talking like a Fish concerts, right? Not like my parents dragged me to some like Tejano show.
Wait, you went to a Fish concert?
You saw Fish, dude?
They were all Fish?
With a PH. I think the earliest concert I can remember going to was Santana.
Ooh,
I think it was at the Alamo Dome, and I think Maná opened up for them. Back when Maná wasn't anything.
Wow.
Like, they were like the opener for Santana. And the reason I remember that show so much is because I got a commemorative teddy bear. And the teddy bear had a t-shirt that had Santana, like, it's that album cover where he's just like flying. Do you remember? Don't know?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I still have that teddy bear.
I'm just gonna nod my head.
Yes. But yeah, that's thanks to my dad. My dad and my mom, they're just super cool.
I have another follow-up question. Did you ever mosh at any concerts or shows?
Oof.
Oh man, the last moshing experience I can remember. There's two to come to mind. One of them was back when the Backstage was the Backstage.
I thought she was gonna say at the Backstreet Boys concert. I was like, whoa!
No, I kind of missed the whole NSYNC Backstreet Boys fad. I did not. That's when I went into my jazz phase. Everyone was doing like Britney Spears and Hanson and I don't know, those bands, and I started listening to Frank Sinatra. I was like 13. Weird 13-year-old.
That is so dope. Like in hindsight, like I wish like I would have fallen into that sort of jazz stuff, because I was like a huge like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears dude.
I hardly got my ass kicked.
Yeah,
except at mosh pits. So yeah, the backstage. My cousin Ruben took me to go see Enter Shikari, and they opened up for Devil Wears Prada.
Oh yeah,
Right?
weren't you
That's
talking
the
about
That
some
was
band
such a
similar?
that was like a huge emo scene at that time.
Yeah, but the Enter Shikari band was awesome. They were really, really good. They kind of sound like video game, screamy kind
Right.
of. I don't know, but I almost died, and he saved me because Ruben's awesome. Shout out to Ruben.
Ruben.
Shout outs.
Yo, shout out to Joe Rocha too, man. For
Shout
that's
outs.
Sarah's dad for hooking you up with that amazing first concert experience.
Yeah.
Santana, that's a good first one, man. And
That's a
that
great
was like
first one.
that was a arena show, right?
Yeah, it was. I think it was either at the Alamodome or the Freeman
Wow.
Coliseum back when they used to do stuff back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super
Back in the
duper
day.
dope. So, well, I mean, I'm sure that had a big impact on you, and now you are part of the musical community here. So you've been in it for about 10, 11, 12 years?
I feel like as a performing musician, I'd have to say since about 2006.
Yeah.
Because I was in college in Waco. I was with the Baylor Jazz Ensemble, and I'd come back and forth from San Antonio to play like different graduation parties and stuff like that. So I think I've been performing since at least 2004.
Yeah.
Here in San Antonio, maybe I started taking gigs in 2006, but we moved to Austin in 2010 when I graduated. If you do the math, I was in college for 6 years. A lot of people go to college for 6 years. They're called doctors.
Yeah, it's professional grad school. Yeah. So we're talking 13, 14, 15 plus years, just playing music in different places, not only San Antonio, but San Antonio is more of your roots as far as the musical scene community. What do you love the most about the musical community in San Antonio, and what do you dislike the most about it?
It's hard to say dislike. I love it, man. There's a reason why, even though I lived in Austin, which is a music mecca, of Texas, even though I lived in there for about a year and a half or 2 years with my brother, I had to move back to San Antonio because we go harder, man. Sorry, Austin. San Antonio, man, like on all realms of the spectrum, whether it's rock music, whether it's Tejano music, whether it's conjunto music, whether it's jazz, like, with KRTU, the jazz station, like, we have it all, man, and I love it. I love being able to play with rock bands, with jazz bands, with conjunto bands, like, I've been able to play the whole circuit here, and it's just, man, it's super, super fun. So I wouldn't trade it in for anything. Dislike about San Antonio music scene? Is that a question?
That is
Are
a
you allowed to
question.
ask that?
You know what? I feel like I can pose that question to any guest that we have, and they're all gonna have very different answers. And I have a feeling that they are gonna have certain feelings or certain things to say about it.
I think if there's anything I could criticize about San Antonio, is maybe that we don't get enough recognition for our musical, feats, that we do. Like you said, we get a little overshadowed by Austin, which, I'm not sour about that or anything. But, San Antonio is up and coming. It's like that little big city, but I hate that it's a little big city. You know what I mean? Because we are doing, and maybe we need to do more. And maybe we need to be a little bit more united and have a little bit better representation in order to get us noticed nationally a bit more. You know what I mean? We have music styles that are only performed here in San Antonio. Stuff that is like so much musical artistry comes out of this place, and we get very little recognition for it nationally. We got the Spurs. We're on that. We're on top of that.
Spurs all day.
Hey, and on that note, if you're a musician from San Antonio and you blow up, don't forget where you came from. All right, BC before Corona, there was a lot of dudes hopping on these national tickets, going to other states, and saying that they're from Austin. That's bullshit, man. You're from San Anto. You fucking show some pride to your community, to your city. Don't be saying that you're from Austin just because you did a few shows in Austin. You know what I'm saying? Give some shine to San Anto, man. Austin's already got... Man, Joe Rogan's moving his podcast to Austin. Did y'all know that? It's like the #1 podcast in the world.
Who?
And he's Joe Rogan.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of her.
Nah, he aight.
Yeah. He's going to be one of our colleagues one day, I'm sure. Now we're all so close by and California's on fire. Everybody's going to start moving to Austin. So now more than ever, it's more important for us to keep San Antonio in the forefront and really let them know what we're about and how we do and all that.
Yeah, and I feel you on that, what you're saying. We all got to be united and lift each other up, push each other up. We love giving the shout-outs to our homies out here who are doing the music thing. We love to see you jamming your stuff too, Sarah, when you're on stage rocking that bass.
Hell yeah.
You equally, my friend, are an awesome bass rocker.
Oh, thank you.
Man, I sometimes get called in to fill in for you when you're working or you're saving the day somewhere else. And man, it's not the same. Like with Los Navalatos, I love that band. It's got to be my favorite band in San Antonio for the last 10 years and going. Every time I hear y'all, I'm just like, oh my God, I love it. Even before you guys were part of Los Navalatos, I was out there, at Salutes, freaking rocking it. Back in the day, but even now, it's like I love watching you guys play. It doesn't get old. The music's always vibrant, has a lot of energy. But when I get asked to play and like sub for you, I'm like sad a little bit. Like I'm so excited to be playing the music, but I'm like, dang, it would be so much better if Felipe was playing here, because now I could be dancing and I could be enjoying it from like the audience. You know what I mean? And
it's missing the little Tejano steps.
Now you feel my pain. I feel the same way on stage. It's so much fun. I love jamming. Then I see everybody dancing out there. It's like sad face. Wish I could be dancing with y'all.
But he's dancing on stage. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
You gotta bring the handsomeness to the art. The art form.
Hey,
appreciate you.
So, since you've spent a lot of time in the scene and you've been able to meet a lot of great people and be around great energies and just some really creative motherfuckers. That's a beautiful thing. Is there an artist or musician that you always looked up to here in San Antonio and you were just like, oh man, like they almost seemed like an entity that was like far away that you can never reach, and now they're like a phone call away, or like you can just be like, hey, sup fucker, I need you to do some keys on my shit, or like whatever.
This is gonna sound kind of lame, but Nicolas, if you're out there, Nicolas Valdez. Accordion player, singer, storyteller, actor. From my vantage point, when I was 24, barely like coming back from college, getting out on the scene, I saw him and I saw like Joel Settles, and like Joaquin, like they were like this was like their career. You know what I mean? They managed to make theater performance. They were like grant funded, and they were like, it's like, well, what's y'all's real job? Like, no, this is it. This is our job. I'm like, what? Like playing music, performance, all that. They managed to make that their job, and I looked up to them so much. They were, maybe about like 5 or 6 years older than me, not that much older than me, but I was still like, I was floored. I was like, wow, like I just spent $100,000 getting a bachelor's degree from Baylor, and I don't make anything. You know what I mean? Like money wise, and it's always been like the duality of having to do my day job, right, and then having like the music, right, like in the evenings, and sometimes it was staying up till 2 or 3, 4 in the morning, and then got to be at the hospital at 6 in the morning, and I spent like the last 10 years doing that, like playing that game. But these guys, they I don't know what their personal finances look like, but they were making it, and I always looked up to them like a lot for continuing to do their music. That's really cool.
The man is, he is an artist start to finish, and whatever it is that he's doing, the dude, I mean, I've definitely learned a whole bunch from him, from like stage presence to, he gives great advice. So it's really, I met Nicolas, like, kind of like, I kind of knew who he was at the time, but I didn't know who he was, and then once you start to get to know somebody, you feel blessed that they're in your space, and you're just like, yo man, this guy is somebody that I can go up to and I can talk to, and ask whatever things I may need help with, or whatever, in regards to the arts and performing and all that stuff. So yeah. Shout out to Nicolas, man. Good dude right there.
Shout outs.
Felipe, you got a question for Sarah?
What's the largest audience you ever played to?
Oh man, bass or French horn.
Which audience was bigger?
How many eyes have you had on you on a stage?
UT Stadium, I think, holds about 20,000 people. So I did do a brief stint in marching band in college.
Oh yeah,
And
tell us
so-
about it. What's that like?
Really nerdy. Super nerdy, because I feel like in high school you join marching band as like a PE alternative, right? So all the like the lazy, semi-talented people will join marching band just to get out of like having to run laps and stuff. You're just like standing out there in the sun.
But then you're marching and it's still laps. It's like, fuck!
Would you say that helped you learn a lot in music, kind of expand your mind towards music?
Dude, absolutely. I definitely I learned to read treble clef by playing French horn. That was like in
Okay.
6th grade, and then senior year, our bass player had moved away to California. Nick, shout out to Nick Perry. But yeah, he moved back to California, and the jazz band at my high school, East Central High School, was left without a bass player. And my brother had gone through the ranks through the jazz band before me. He played guitar. Joe Ray Rocha is my brother. But yeah, and so he had told the jazz director, Morgan Leith. Shout out to Morgan Leith. Thank you, sir, for forcing me to play bass. But he told me, Sarah, I'm gonna need you on bass. And I was like, sir, I don't play bass. I play French horn. And he's like, I don't care. I know for a fact that your brother bought you a bass last year, like an electric bass. I'm gonna need you to bring
Called
it.
you out.
I'm gonna need you to bring it and play. And I was like, but what about Gabriel Charles? And he's like, nope. I'm gonna need you to play. He's like, yeah, but Gabriel's already playing. Sorry, Gabriel. He's like, I'm sorry, he's not working. I need you to bring your bass. And so I took over for Gabe and learned bass clef in 2 weeks. But if it hadn't been for me knowing French horn before, I wouldn't been able to be able to transpose and learn how to read bass clef. And so yeah, that basically helped. That has helped me land so many gigs. Like from that point on, just being able to read music. You know, I know it's not like a necessary thing for a lot of musicians, but it definitely allowed me to play with some amazing groups in college, and then post college. I know Art mentioned that I played with Graham Reynolds. That's a gig that I've had, like this outdoor performance group called the Forklift like Performance Arts, and I've got to do some outdoor performances with him and his crew of people that he gets to play. I mean, with it's just like, oh my gosh, you know, and it's all based on the fact that I know how to read music. You know, if I didn't know how to read it, then it would make that process a lot more difficult. So,
And it also like limits the sort of gigs that you can get. Like, for example, you may know how to play a certain instrument or, you know, have a certain talent, but if you don't know the structure and you can't read music, a lot of times they won't take you, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So I spent some time teaching at the School of Rock, and that was something that I always kind of try to instill in the students. You know, they're just like, well, just teach me how the song goes, like, teacher, like, just show me, and I'll play it. You know, because that's how most of us learn, right? Like, where's the G? Oh, is it this G? Okay, I don't care, but I'm gonna push down this button. You know, and I always try to instill in the importance of like, you need to know the note names. You know, you need to know like what it looks like on a page. You know, and they're like, why? I was like, well, that's the musical language. You know what I mean? That's how you can communicate with a room full of an entire orchestra can sit down and play a song from beginning to end, you know, completely sight reading it, you know, and how else do you organize, you know, 60 people to play the exact same song and to be on, you know, that's, unless you know how to read music, it's important. It's not everything. Like I said, a lot of our beloved jazz, you know, musicians and artists that have gone through the ages are...
They got one speed and it's go.
Yeah, they don't read a lick of music, but and they can just feel it. And, you know, I'll props for people that have a great ear and stuff like that. You know, it's got its pros and cons, you know. So it makes you more universal when you can read music. But then again, I used to perform with a lot of musicians back in college, and they could not get away from the page. To tell them, like, no, let's just jam on this. You know, let's just riff off of each other. Let's just like whatever, you know. Yeah. They couldn't. They would freeze up, you know. And there's a lot of musicians like that too. If it's not specifically written out, they can't, you know, they kind of crumble. They freeze, you know. So I think being able to practice both, you know, and being able to interchange both is really, really good. Especially when you play with a band like Los Nomalatos, where you might practice 5 or 6 songs at practice, and then you go play a 4-hour show, where they're just like, what song? Like, what key is this song in? It's like, I think it's an A. Yeah, just A. Just A. Well, what's the next chord? Just B. I don't know, you know, and they're just like calling out chord changes in the middle of like the performance, and you've experienced that, you know what that's like.
Yeah, every time. It's always a journey.
Yeah.
Everybody's all, pinche Luis, just tell us, man, just don't just go like this and blink your eye and that's a B, man.
Hey dude, if you get an eye blink from Luis, that's like a mouthful, man. At least you got that, all right, because yeah, that he's very subtle.
Yeah.
He's very subtle in his gestures.
And that's with Los Nahualatos. Talk about the time that you spent BC at the Dakota with the Luis Gonzalez trio, and having that slew of a bunch of different musicians coming by and jamming. Explain a little bit what the Luis Gonzalez trio is and what the Tuesday Jam is at the Dakota Eastside Ice House.
Well, it's composed of Luis Gonzalez on guitar.
All right, moving on.
Me on bass guitar, sometimes upright, sometimes electric, and we would have John Fernandez on drums, but I feel like he got to play for like 1 or 2 songs, and then we had like 11 drummers like show up. So we
which is rare. That's usually like,
yeah.
But they're like, oh, there's a drum set there already. Bet.
Yeah. So yeah, no, we would host at 8 p.m. We had every Tuesday night. We would do a jam session, and it was just an open jam for any musicians in San Antonio to come out and, saxophone players, trombone players, people of all, singers, rappers, anybody who wanted to come up and just lay something down. It was an opportunity for musicians to network with each other, to learn a little bit more, and I remember that when I first moved back to San Antonio as a jazz musician, we used to have this old jam at the Bone Shakers. That's over there by what's that bridge?
Hayes Bridge.
Hayes Bridge, yeah, Hayes Street Bridge. That's, I think it's called Big Hops. But before then, it was a Bone Shakers, and that's where we had our Monday night jam. And man, like that's where I met most of the San Antonio like jazz musicians. So like all the oldies but goodies guys that are still around. That's where you would go to meet, and from there you would get people's contact information. And like, okay, well, we're gonna go play this one gig downtown. I need a trumpet player. Oh yeah, let's call that guy that we saw play that one night. He was pretty good. Or I need a bass player. So like that was like really like monumental for us, for like perpetuating kind of like the live music scene here in San Antonio. And since the Small World jam session closed down with Almost Pharmacy, Barmacy closing down, that was another big hit, and so me and Luis got together and we decided like, San Antonio needs a jam. We need to have a jam where people can come together, learn a little bit, network with each other, and the result of the Dakota Jam, I felt that was like most influential for the community was that we got a lot of young, like new jazzers, that had just graduated, maybe went through like the program at SAC or whatever, like UTSA and stuff, and they could come and like practice with jazz musicians that were a little bit more experienced with them. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and that's really the only way that you get better at jazz, or you get better at anything. You got to play with people that are better than you, people that are going to challenge you, people that are going to make you a little nervous, make you sweat a little bit, right? Because then what happens, you rise to that level. And that's the kind of environment we try to create with the jam. BC before Corona, and I think it was going really, really well. That last jam session, man, like we had a feeling, all the kind of like South by Southwest stuff had gotten canceled. It was like right before spring break, and we're like, man, I think this might be the last jam. I don't know what it was, and I think Luis had almost already given up too. He's like, no one's gonna come, let's just phone it in, man. Like it was 20 something musicians, like 21 or 26. It was
such a good jam
of like my favorite San Antonio musicians all in one room, just like going for it, man. And it was the most beautiful, most organic, oh my gosh, like that was one of those wonderful times.
And that night I remember it was so awesome, not only because I finally got to get on stage with the Luis Gonzalez trio, and I did a little bit of rapping, but my aunt was in town from Mexico, my mom was there, Paulo had just came in from he was at sea for a few months.
That was magic, dude.
And then like somebody like recorded it, like we all just like started hugging, and we had like a little Radio Tierra reunion.
Paulo Rodriguez is the drummer for Radio Tierra. He had done a 6-month cruise, a BB King cruise.
I think it was gonna be 6 months, but it ended up being like 4.5 because that's when COVID hit hard and they sent everybody home. Yeah. But hey, so do you think that the jam will be coming back anytime soon, or do you have any information about that? What would you say to our audience? Like, is it coming back? What do you think?
I would stay hopeful as things, once we had that second wave here in Texas, everybody got a little bit more scared. Everybody went back to their houses. The unfortunate thing about being a full-time musician in San Antonio is that we don't have like healthcare options. So a lot of our friends are still like in lockdown quarantine. They feel that like if I even go out a little bit, if I just breathe any other air, I might get sick, and I may not have money to be able to stay at a hospital for 7 to 10 days, need to get treated for COVID. So a lot of the reason why a lot of our musician friends haven't come out yet is because they're at home trying to stay safe, and they're terrified. They're terrified of getting sick because they have families, that they're responsible for. And if they have to go be in a hospital, what's that going to set them back? 20, 30,000? Like, I have no idea how much a hospital stay costs these days, but it's not cheap, and
more than a carton of eggs.
And so we would hate to put anybody at risk. And it's like, unfortunately, like, we could all stand 6 feet away from each other, but people are going to be taking their masks off. We have horn players, we have and just to communicate with each other, like, we tried practicing with masks on, and it sucks. Especially like Luis's like subtle like little like facial gestures and stuff, man. If you miss that one little like lip curl, like ya valió madre, like you're not.
He's like I dropped my shoulder by a centimeter. That's C sharp.
Yeah, did you not notice? Yeah, so the communication is really hard when you have masks, especially when you're standing really far away from each other. So for now, there hasn't been too much talk about it. We want to do it. I think everybody wants to do it. Everybody misses it.
Absolutely.
But we gotta be safe. And so Kent Oliver has done a great job at the Dakota, kind of setting up an outdoor performance space for everybody, which is wonderful and great. And it's like the one gig in town that's still like around because they can support having that outdoor kind of like capacity and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, just wishing and hoping and waiting for things to, people keep being safe. let the COVID kind of like cases go down a little bit, and maybe one day we can do that together.
And since music is such a universal thing, and it is so important, especially to people like us, if you are gonna go out, please mask up, especially if you're just gonna be in the audience. Just clap really loud. Yeah. So let's keep it safe. Let's keep jamming. So I guess before we like segue to other things that you got going on in your life, one last question I did want to ask you on that is, what's one of your favorite moments on stage? And it can be with the trio, it could be with other bands that you've done, it could be like in a big performance hall. What's like a cool story that you got for us?
My favorite bass moment?
Let's
I could
go.
say there was this small jam that we used to have with Renee Ford, who plays soprano saxophone, amazing saxophone player in San Antonio. And it was at a little place called Bay Seas. Y'all might be familiar with the chain here in San Antonio. There's a couple locations, one on the east side, one out in I think like Live Oak area. Catfish, soul food, delicious food. But they had one location out in like Leon Valley, Bandera exit, a little like right outside of 410. And we used to have like a soul food jam session. It was Sunday morning. They would have like a buffet, like a seafood buffet, and it was Dan Garvin on drums, Marco Escobedo on guitar, and then Renee on saxophone, and then I would play bass. And no one ever went. We hardly ever played to an audience. It was just us, and then we get paid.
Come on, San Antonio.
Yeah, we get paid in
we can do better.
We would get paid in catfish, which the food was great. Some other pork chops. Like, man, Basie's, they go hard. Super, super good food. But this one Sunday morning, I think like the whole choir, women's choir from a Baptist church down the street showed up. And they showed up to eat, and we're playing our jazz, doing our thing. And one of the ladies came up and asked us, like, hey, can you play this one song? And everybody looked at each other like, no, we don't know. It was like hymnals, no, we don't know that song. And she's like, oh, well, like, we're a choir and we want to sing, and we're like, well, what do you want to sing? And I'm like, okay, well, how about this song? And the guys just kept looking at her like, no, we don't know that. And I was just like, I don't know, I did enough church choir music when I was in high school, even, that they're pretty simple, kind of like GCD rotations, nothing too hard, and so I told the lady, I was like, you know what, you're only audience, we gotta entertain, it's not about us playing what we want to play, you just start singing. And so she started singing like you know, like this little light of mine, right now I'm gonna let it shine. And I was like, okay, this is easy. This is just, you know, do 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 do, like, you know, the 1-4-5 kind of like rotation. And so I started following it with her, and I looked over to Marco, and Marco picked it up. You know, he started looking at the chords I was playing, and then like the drums came in, and before you know it, the whole band just gets up, the whole choir just gets up, and you know, I'm gonna let it shine. It was just like so beautiful, man. And they were just singing for themselves, and for us, there was no one else in the restaurant. But oh my gosh, like if that wasn't that was the most beautiful performance I ever like was able to take part in, and we played for no one.
Wow.
That no one ever heard.
You know what? Sometimes the best shows and the best songs are never recorded. Like, man, can you guys imagine all the music we would have if we had recorded everything that we jammed? You know?
There's a lot of magical moments that go unheard.
Oh yeah, especially now that that Luis is joining us to help us out with trigger words. We're definitely expanding a lot more, and we're exploring new avenues, and we're hoping to jam a lot more and crank out more stuff. Sarah, you have actually owned the role, I hope, of executive producer here on the podcast. You help us even edit video, which came out beautiful, and we're using, you know, the equipment that we have, which is really good. It's not like the most high-end stuff we would love, but you make it work, and it's so fantastic that with what we have, we're coming out with such great quality content for everybody. I know it's been a journey for you, learning how to do all these things for the podcast, for recording, for video, for lighting. With everything you've learned, what else do you plan to pursue? What other projects are you working on? What sort of things do you want to do?
Well, I think you guys were hinting at it a little earlier. We all started a nonprofit organization. And I say we all as in Arturo, Felipe, Luis. And it's still in its infancy. You know, we don't have a lot of members or anything yet, but we've been in contact with the Ham in Austin, and we're gonna try to figure out the logistics on how to bring healthcare to San Antonio musicians. So if anything, the COVID and the quarantine has showed us is that we do have underrepresentation of our full-time musicians here in San Antonio, and it's time that we kind of unified together and got everybody squared away, man, because if we don't protect our artists, the art is going to die. And, you know, we've already seen kind of like the almost complete loss of Tejano music. You know, if it's not for having Fiesta every year, which this year we did not have Fiesta, where else are we playing? You know, Conjunto Fest and Fiesta were like the 2 times that we were playing Tejano. We were still playing Tejano, where we still had like, you know, like Selena cover bands and like, you know, different stuff like that. And, you know, with the exception of what birthdays and weddings where you have mariachis come, like where is our San Antonio Spanish music being performed or preserved or what? You know, and where are those musicians?
That's right. Along with the loss of our radio station KXTN, the Tejano 107.5.
Rest in peace, man.
We missed that for sure, and it's a really interesting point you bring up that the Tejano from this region, you know, is very regional. You had mentioned earlier, like the stuff that we're doing here is very regional to this area. It's different when you go farther north to Austin or farther south to like Mexico. It's very unique here, you know, Conjunto, Tejano, Selena, things like that. South Texas.
Yeah, we have our own sound, and it is incumbent upon us to protect the people that are still performing that music, you know, because they're keeping it alive, you know, and we have to keep our musicians alive and our musicians healthy. So yeah, that's kind of what it's the Musicians Alliance of San Antonio. So it's not just going to be healthcare. Like we want to advocate for the betterment and the wellness of San Antonio musicians. You know, for preservation, that's one part of it, but you know. Healthcare coverage, right, is where we start, right? We need to get our basic human rights like out of the way. You know, it's super important. We need to get access to having good affordable healthcare. So that's one of the first things the group wants to do. Second thing is to get offer like financial planning, financial assistance for musicians. So you know, you can perform in San Antonio for 40 years, and when it's time to retire, where's your retirement plan? There is none. You know, and you basically just keep playing until you can't play anymore, until your voice goes or your fingers fall off or I don't know what, but You know what I mean? There's no backup plan for people who have given themselves to the community, have given a lifetime career, you know, to the music scene here in San Antonio or around like South Texas. And so you know, we need to have some type of like financial planning team to help people save up. You know, if you get paid $50, you know, on one gig, maybe $5 goes into like a little account. You know what I mean? And that goes in there and you can't touch it, you know, not even for like weekend planning or anything. It's like, that is your retirement plan, you know, or they're like little grants or stipends that we can offer. I mean, stuff like that. Like, we need to find a way to be able to preserve not just the music, but the San Antonio musician. So after that comes, you know, community outreach, right? I don't know about you guys, but I know, well, Felipe, you grew up here and you went to Harlandale, you know, and as like in being a part of the band, you know, and like you're in high school or middle school, there's a big difference between the kids who can afford private lessons and then and trying out for all region, like, you know, all region band and stuff like that. Right. And then the students who can't afford lessons, you know, or the ones who had to get a school sponsored like horn or something, right? So there's a lot of musicians in town that, you know, that maybe could give their services back to the students by offering free lessons, you know, but we have to give them a little bit of incentive. So, you know, if we could one day, you know, find a way to be able to give back to maybe some of the more underserved high schools, you know, that, you know, where we might have some beautiful, wonderful, talented kids, you know, growing up, but they need to be nurtured a little bit more, you know what I mean? They need to have somebody like a mentor that can help and teach them and kind of like form their talents a little bit more. So that would be another thing that Masa is trying to do. But yeah, I want to be part of Masa. Yeah. I want to help Masa get off the floor, the ground floor.
And if you're listening, you should be excited too, especially if you are a musician, a creative. This is, you know, we're at the infancy, right? With all this, this is a lot. This is mostly all on the table right now. It's all words that we're writing down. It's all thoughts that we're having at this moment. But you're constantly looking online, looking for the legal stuff. You know, we have to pay taxes, or, you know, there's like a certain tax thing that we got to do.
We have to get tax exemptions.
Exemptions. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still a bunch of paperwork and things that we have to submit with the city, with the state, and all that good stuff. Is there another organization that you can maybe compare it to, or is there any other organizations, whether here in San Antonio, in Texas, anywhere else, that offer the same sort of things, just to kind of give people an idea of what we're trying to do?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The HAM,
mm-hmm.
HAM in Austin. Their health alliance, I think, of musical something. Sorry, HAM.
Of musical midgets.
Yeah, no, but they're doing it. They found out a way to do it, and they it's a huge organization, and they offer healthcare to the musicians in Austin, but it only extends about, I think, a 30-mile radius around Austin, so which leaves kind of like New Braunfels and San Antonio kind of like in the wind.
Like always.
So we need something for that. But right now, really, we just the thing is that 4 people, even though 4 motivated people, cannot run an entire organization. You know, it takes the community, you know, so whether or not Masa will flourish into something, you know, that we can all be proud of and we can all, like, you know, turn to in our time of need as musicians, it's gonna depend a lot on the community, you know. And if San Antonio wants it, you know, if we have people that come with their talents, their respective talents and their perspectives and, you know, and their ideas, if they're willing to come and volunteer their time, you know, then Masa is going to flourish into something great, you know. But it's not something that can be run by one person, you know. So yeah, we're definitely this is the official call to arms.
Let's go.
If y'all are ready for it, if y'all need it, you know, a lot of us are just at home, so this is the time to rally together and put our minds together and see how we can get this going for everybody.
Yeah, rock with this. It takes a village.
Takes a village, not of all chiefs. Okay, we can all be chiefs together. We'll be co-chiefs, pero you have to put in the work. Okay, and work we will continue to do. And speaking of future work, Sarah, what do you see as the future for Trigger Words and what we're doing here? You know, besides Masa, I mean, I'm sure it's all gonna eventually mesh together. You know, all of our projects, we're already starting to mesh a lot of the same musicians that we jam with, and we're starting to make projects. But what is like maybe what's a short-term goal for Trigger Words as an executive producer, and also what's a long-term goal?
I'm just here to support you guys, man. Y'all are the talent. Y'all are the energy. Y'all are the
Cue the applause track.
But no, yeah, this is something born out of what is it? Distress, right? Out of our quarantine time together.
I could say that. Yeah.
And now becoming something that I mean, it's y'all's voices, y'all's voices, and y'all are loud voices, y'all are strong, opinionated voices, and something that the San Antonio musician needs, And so I'm interested to hear where you guys take this, and what this develops into in the future, and I'm proud of y'all. Super proud of y'all for doing it.
Well, we are proud of you, and we're very thankful for everything that you've been able to offer. Sarah is our troubleshooter, and she keeps us in line. And for some reason, she also feels compelled to feed us. So, thank you so much. It literally fuels what we're doing here. So, I'm glad to have you on board, and I'm glad that this is not just a podcast. It's not just me and Felipe talking. It's not just, the stuff that we do here. It's the music that we play together. It's the idea of how we all created something from just hanging out and having a good relationship as friends. And now we're bringing in more friends, and it's beautiful. And this is what it's about. This is what music is about. This is what our community is about. This is what, at least for us, this is what life is about. It's music, creation, and never being stagnant, and just, dándole recio. I have one more question for you. It's kind of weird, but I thought it'd be an interesting question to ask. What triggers you, or what is a trigger word for you? And this is just so that our audience gets used to the term trigger words and how we use it, and how can they can apply it to their lives.
Yeah, it could be anything that makes you feel good, or any kind of emotion that you hear a word and it'll just kind of set you off some certain way.
I think you guys both know the answer to that.
Soup?
Soup.
Oh, I got it!
Soup is good food. Don't forget it. Yeah, all kinds of soup. I'm sorry I said food, Mom. I'm sorry. But, oh my gosh.
I think we both can attest, Felipe. She eats soup. She is a soup eater. She can eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
But I can't cook it all the time, because y'all don't, you know what I mean? Like, Felipe, I think, is more of a soup,
the most receptive.
I've seen him order caldo, you know what I mean? But, like,
that was a shock. Caldo
res, I was like, all right, he gets down on some pozole. Yeah. He gets down on pozole. But yeah, but Art is the anti-soup.
Yeah, I mean, it's only because it's 1,000 degrees outside. That's my only beef. It's just like
soup anytime.
Hot, like really hot food like that.
So good.
Like, you know what I mean? But I am looking forward to this winter's soups, and I don't mind having an abundance of soups this winter.
Don't make promises you can't keep,
man. We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
Don't write tricks with your mouth that your ass can't catch.
I can't catch soup with my ass.
I take soup very seriously.
All right, the soup queen, Sarah Rocha. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we're going to have you on the show maybe for the 1SK episode. That's going to be interesting. And we'll explain what 1SK is a little later. So, yeah, do you have any final words for the folks? Anything else you want to say before we wrap up this segment?
Stay safe, and I think that's it.
Yeah, wear a mask, right?
Stay happy. Happiness is inside of all of us. Just get down in there, pull it out, and just live the best lives you can, guys. That's it. That's all we can do.
Yeah, let the little happiness gnome come out.
Sounds kind of rapey, but okay. I'm the happiness gnome. Okay, let's not go there.
Well, all right. Well, let's go ahead and move on. You guys want to go wish Luis a happy birthday?
Happy birthday, Luis.
Let's go do it.
No,
we're going to go do that right now.
Oh, okay,
let's go. All right, let's go do it.
What the hell? Yo.
I just saw that motherfucker around the corner. Let's go get his ass before he goes back in the house.
Yo, what? Who's outside?
Luis, man. It's crazy times, but we ain't forgotten about his ass. He's gonna get what he fucking deserves. You got that thing on you?
Oh shit, say less. Hell yeah, I always got that thing on me.
Cool. If we go now, we'll catch him slipping.
Hell yeah, let's run it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yo, I'm getting so fucking hyped, bro.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. We're gonna get that ass. Yeah. Yo, fuck that old lady, man. Just go. I don't care, man. Drive. Just drive fast, bro.
Yo, man, I'm going as fast as I can.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Let's go.
Regular Saturday night, huh? My ass. We gonna get that motherfucker, man.
Come on now.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yo, there he is. Roll down the window.
In and out, let's get it popping.
Here we go. Grab the thing. Put your mask on. Happy birthday! Woo! Happy birthday, dog. This is a birthday drive-by. No, don't come closer. 6 feet, my dude. Yeah.
Yo, man, we got you a birthday gift. It's that thing. You know the fucking vibes.
Blaze it and praise it, my brother. That thing is good. We're gonna put it in the ground, wait for us to drive away, then come pick it up.
Later, dude. Happy birthday. We gotta go do another drive-by. Gonna go get Ricky next.
Peace.
Ha! Got him! Welcome back. Luis, happy birthday. That was your skit for episode 2. That is the surprise drive-by birthdays. We are living in a new world, folks. So that's how we're living now. You gotta socially distance. If you have a birthday coming up like Luis today, happy birthday, Luis. It's unfortunately still gonna have to be socially distant. It's still going to have to be. You can't have that big old pachanga. You can't have that big old barbecue. You can, but you're putting people at risk. That being said, we'll see you tonight at the Dakota Eastside Ice House for socially distant music, food, drinks.
Yeah, they're doing it right, man.
On the house.
They have the distance between the tables outside. Each table has that disinfectant spray.
And hand sanitizer, too.
Which is really cool.
We'll be down there today. Luis will be joining Bear Brass on stage to... he's going to be playing bass with them, I believe. He's going to be playing bass with them for tonight's show. It just so happens to be his birthday. Hopefully we can maybe have a jam back at the house, very low-key here with all of Trigger Words, and maybe come up with a few more jams, a few more songs, because that just means more episodes.
Oh, yeah.
More music means more episodes. So, happy birthday, Luis. We actually will be having a full interview with him for episode number 3. So,
right.
Episode number 3, Luis will be in the house. And he said he wants a bottle of whiskey, so we'll get him a nice little bottle of proper 12.
Oh yeah.
And we can have a real nice conversation, loosen the guy up a little bit. Whoa, pause. And also want to thank Sarah Rocha, executive producer for Trigger Words, for joining us on today's episodes. We got so much great insight to everything that she does. Honestly, she is the oil that keeps this machine running well, efficiently. I'm not going to waste people's time with that weird kidney motor oil thing that I did last episode. I'm sorry. I did have a little too much coffee, and I think my brain was just like... It's going a little too fast. So thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us. And Sarah is not only just a musician and a producer and an engineer with video and audio, but she's also going to school to be a pharmacist. She's on her last year of rotations, and we're super proud of her. She is actually doing some research to combat the COVID situation and try to look for vaccines. It's very hush-hush. She can't really talk to us about it, but she's definitely there with the people making those decisions and doing the research. So, Sarah, we salute you not only for being an awesome roommate, awesome bandmate, awesome producer, and just somebody who makes the process just easier for us, but you're also helping the rest of the world and the musical community with Masa. So major props to Sarah. Super duper cool, and I'm glad that we got to have a nice little interview with her.
Yes, she's a huge inspiration, and she's doing a lot of really important things. Always a great time to sit with her, talk about things.
Absolutely, and we have her all the time. We have her all the time here. I know her parents are watching this right now, and they're like, "Ay, mija, mira, mira, qué bonito. Those boys, they talk so nice about mija."
Only because we mean it, though.
We mean it. We mean it. You can only say good words about somebody when you truly love them. So we did promise you guys that we were going to have a trigger word of the day, and today's word is, get ready for this.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's a mouthful. Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia.
Can you hit me with that one more time?
That's Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia. What do you think that means, just based off of the name? Fear of hippos?
Is it like when a hippo is like charging through the safari and like knocks over another animal and another one and fights an elephant? Hippopotomonstrosity?
Not quite.
So I never heard that word, actually.
The textbook definition of Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia, I shit you not, the English language in true ironic fashion, just being a super troll, Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia means the fear of long words.
What?
What a dick, right? Whoever did that, it's just like, let's take this small demographic of people that are scared of big words, and let's make a big word to describe what they have. It's like, okay, what's your medical condition? It's a hippo. Oh god, I can't say it, man. Scary. So that is your trigger word of the day. It's just hilariously ironic, and I used to be in this rap group when I was in Laredo. Well, I was actually already in San Antonio, but it was with some cats from Laredo. And one of the cats that I was rapping with, he actually put that word into a rhyme. And the only reason why I was able to remember how to say it is because I always hear it as a song in my head. And I don't remember what the rhyme was before or after, but I remember like the flow was like Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia. And it was like, you know, and I was able to break it down like in a musical sense. And I was like, oh shit, hey, I can say that word. I remember I thought the same shit when everybody hears it for the first time. I was like, the hell is that? What do you, like, how do you even, it sounds like you're saying a whole damn sentence, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's one of my favorite words, and we will have a new word for you guys next podcast, and it'll be just as interesting. Hey, Felipe, have you been watching anything interesting on Netflix? Anything you want to recommend to the audience? Anything that's new and cool?
Yeah, man, we've had plenty of time to watch a lot of Netflix. One that stood out to me is something that you had put on, and we were watching it here the other day. Or actually, maybe it was Sarah who put it on. She said, hey, I saw this movie and I thought y'all might be interested in it.
I think it was Sarah. It was definitely Sarah.
And she put on this movie called Ya no estoy aquí, I'm no longer here. And it's about this young kid from Mexico. What part of Mexico was he from?
From Monterrey.
That's right. And it's a
Monterrey, Nuevo León.
It's like a scene that's going on over there with a bunch of young folks that dance cumbias colombianas, right?
Colombianas with the K.
That's right.
Yeah. So basically, this dude is like, you know, if you've ever seen the Colombianos and their style, like they have like really, just out there haircuts, man. They're like, they got like long bangs and it's like bleached at certain parts and it's like shaved off at certain parts, and they wear like super baggy clothes. That's what they call the tumbado style, right? Somebody who's tumbado is somebody who's like, you know, just loose and like just, you know, it's almost like their clothes blew up and just stayed like really big, and they're all like really skinny dudes. And They play like these like super like makeshift cumbias that are like, and they're like instead of using like guacharacas, they're using like they're using like a notebook. They're using like the spiral part,
Oh, yeah.
and they're like and a pen just, and then like they're using like botes, just like a random like bucket to like do a conga, and like the dancing is just incredible in that, and the soundtrack to it was great.
Yeah, I love that music,
fucking
man.
awesome.
It was really cool to see that movie with y'all because I'd been into that music for a long time too. I've been listening to those bands, and that soundtrack is dope.
Yeah, las cumbias rebajadas de Monterrey con los cholombianos, man, that is just it's chopped and screwed cumbias. Come on, it sounds like it's like you know, I don't, no, trust me, chopped and screwed cumbias is the whole vibe. That is like the whole vibe, and like if you throw those on, and I'm like at a little house party. I mean, of course, BC. If I'm at a house party, if I'm you know, out at the club, whatever, like yo, though that is precisely what I want to be dancing to and just vibing out to. Some nice rebajadas.
Yeah.
When you're in the mood, nice and you know what I mean, in the
Feeling
zone.
feeling pretty good.
When you're bussing it.
when you're feeling a little bust, you just start moving around a little bit, dance. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, that's the music suggestion. You got any local music you want to shout out? Maybe something that's not local, just something that you've been jamming heavy, or just anything you want to put people onto?
Well, I wanted to highlight the band that we mentioned earlier that Sarah's in, the Luis Gonzalez Trio. That's actually my favorite jazz group here in town.
Yeah.
They have a lot of different players that come in, sit in with them as well, and it's, you know, it ranges from fast jazz, slow jazz, classic, new. It's a great fusion, and I love to see them play live. Hope I get to see them soon.
Yeah, you guys, seriously, this is like such a great band. Sarah's in it. Luis is a beast. The drummers always vary, but whoever it is, they never get anybody who's not up to par. Whether it's Palo, John Fernandez, Dalton Mattingly, you know, shout out to Dalton too, man. He's a cool cat. Hopefully, maybe we can get him in the podcast one of these days. But yeah, Luis Gonzalez, and you know, I hate to like keep going on the Luis train, but damn, this dude is just killing it. And I actually wanted to give a shout out, you know, besides the Luis Gonzalez trio, Luis and I actually are recording some music as well. He started making beats a few years ago, and I'm an MC, so he started feeding me beats and sending me a whole bunch of really cool stuff. And that's actually the beat that you heard at the beginning of the episode. The name of that beat is called Domo. It's a project in the works right now, but it's just such a great beat, and we had to share it with you guys. You'll be hearing it at the closing of this episode as well. He does have an Instagram where you can follow him. It's Silencio, and that's Silencio. Go ahead and look him up on Spotify, Instagram, and that's just where he puts his beats, and it's mostly like these really cool jazzy lo-fi beats, but he also does trap, and he does like the real hype stuff, and he samples all sorts of crazy stuff. So shout out to Luis, aka Silencio, as his producer name. And happy birthday to that dude, man. Once again, today's his birthday. Today's like his actual birthday, the day that we're filming it. And it just happens that we had the skit with the drive-by happy birthday thing. So sweet serendipity. That was pretty cool. You got any final words for the folks? Anything you want to say before we give the shout out to a badass woman?
Thank y'all for listening. You know, I know we're still early off into this whole podcasting game, and I'm glad you're sticking with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only gonna get better. I feel like we were talking earlier how you know, editing is gonna get so much easier, and recording is gonna get so much easier, and everything else, just like our segments, everything's gonna move along a lot more smooth. We're gonna have to start calling this the butter podcast. You know what I mean? And but anyways, man, just as some final words before we give a shout out to a badass woman, because we can't leave without giving a shout out to a badass woman. I just want to say, you know, life is unpredictable. Expect the best, prepare for the worst. And on the topic of birthdays, you know, don't add years to your life. Add life to your years. You know what I mean? So, happy birthday, Luis. Felipe, you want to give a shout out to a badass woman? You got anybody in mind, man? There's plenty badass women out there.
There definitely are. But to choose just one at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this band that I like with a female fronted singer. They're not a local band. It's this woman. Her name's Liz Powell, and her band is called Land of Talk. If y'all have never heard them, you should give them a listen. It's like indie rock, and it's all original stuff. She has a great voice, and she's who comes to mind at this moment. I'm a huge fan.
Say her name one more time.
Liz Powell.
Liz Powell.
The band is Land of Talk. Check them out.
Land of Talk. I actually haven't heard it. I'm gonna check it out. It sounds cool. And the badass woman that I want to shout out is AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is just crushing it, bro. She is like, you know what I mean? Like, man, I can't even with her. She's just so cool, man. She stands up to like these big politicians in Wall Street, and she's just, you know, she's our age. She's like 30, 31, you know, and she like, it's crazy to see somebody who's our age that is that well put together and just being that much of a badass and just really, really, really advocate. She makes me excited for politics again. She makes me feel the way that Bernie Sanders made us feel. You know, it's like I saw this meme where it was like what you ordered on Amazon, and it's like AOC with Bernie Sanders, and then what you actually got, and it's like Biden and Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah.
You know, like we really got gypped. Like, man, I can't stress enough how amazing the leadership in our country would be if a badass woman like AOC was, you know, she's in New York, but I would definitely give her a whole lot more range and let her say, yo, run this whole country, because you're doing a great job. So, badass women, we salute you. Y'all are awesome. This has been the second episode of the Trigger Words podcast. Please join us for the next episode where we interview Luis Gonzalez from the Luis Gonzalez Trio, Los Nahualatos, Radio Tierra, and also his producer named Silencio. He will be in the house with us next time for the next episode, episode 3. Doctor?
Doctor?
Until next time. Peace.